Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Woodard Report podcast. I am so excited about our guest today. I have none other than Nancy McClelland, aka the Dancing CPA, here to chat with me today. Nancy, welcome.
Oh my gosh, Heather, I'm so excited that you invited me to be on the show. I love talking with you so much, and I love all of the incredible stuff that the Woodard Report does. And it is truly an honor to be here.
Well, we're just thrilled to have you. And honestly, I can't believe we haven't had you on yet. So this is a huge day for us, and we're really excited. You've written lots of articles, or for the Woodard Report, you write articles for MSN. You've been an instructor at Scaling New Heights for a long, long time. And just you're such a powerful, authentic voice in our community, and just really excited to have you come and chat with us today. So thank
I
you.
have a huge smile on my face right now. You are very good for my ego. Can we do this every day? I'm just going to start my day by being like, Heather, can you pretend that I'm on the podcast and introduce me? Because you make me sound pretty cool.
You are pretty cool, and you are unique, and I love the way that you approach things. Plus, you have just incredible energy. It's infectious, right, to be around
Oh,
you.
thank
So
you.
really excited to have you. So you have been a busy, busy bee over, I would say, the last year, but it's actually been over the past probably, I don't even know how many years.
About three
Yeah,
years. Yeah. It's
yeah,
been kind of
you've been.
nuts.
So tell us a little bit about you, how you got started. I'd love for you to share your story of the dancing CPA and how you
Sure.
came up with that brand. And then I just love how that, just knowing you, and being, knowing you and seeing you at conferences and being around you, it's just, that is just such a core of who you are. So I'd love for you to share with our listeners about how that came to be.
Well, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's actually a more fun story than that. Actually, a client gave our firm the name The Dancing Accountant. So I've run a hyper local bookkeeping, accounting, tax, and advisory firm for 24 years. And when I say hyper local, I don't just mean Chicago hyperlocal. I mean our neighborhood and the three neighborhoods around it. If you're outside of that area, chances are we're going to refer you to somebody else because these are clients, these are our neighbors, right? Like these are the stores where we go shopping. These are the restaurants and the bars and the cafes where we hang out. These are the people we hire for like personal services and professional services and landscaping and acupuncture and things like that. So we're very, very, very much in the community. And I am also a dancer. And I've actually gotten to dance at quite a few accounting conferences at this point, which is really cool. As a matter of fact, just last month, I was at the AICPA Global Women's Leadership Summit in Nashville, and I had over 500 people dancing along to She Works Hard for the Money by Donna Summer, doing fake jazzercise. I had a whole get up, my whole aerobics costume and everything. So I really do dance. And one of the groups I dance with is a 1960s go-go group. So think like These Boots Are Made for Walkin' by Nancy Sinatra, that kind of thing. So one of my pro bono clients is a park activities council in our neighborhood. And they had an event where they had a bunch of go-go dancers, like our troupe, come and teach little kids how to do go-go dancing, which is super fun and probably my favorite part of the job. And so I came in full outfit. Now, this is not my accounting outfit that I normally wear. This is like tall white boots, short skirt, like it's a whole look. I got my big fake eyelashes and yeah, it's a whole like 1960s scene. And I walked to the park from my home because it's all hyper local, right? And I get there and not one but two clients are on the lawn with their kids picnicking together. And I'm like, and I was trying to decide whether I should be embarrassed or not. And I was like, no, I'm going to embrace this because this is who I am. This is what I do. And I walk up and say hi. And she goes, oh, look, kids, it's the dancing accountant. And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, I should point out that until then, our company name was Nancy McClelland LLC. So it's like not exactly a shimmering highlight of the person behind the profession. So, yeah, that's what happened. And I think I've looked it up. I think it was like 6 weeks later or something that I changed the name of the company to the Dancing Accountant. Yeah.
I love that. And it is so true to who you are. So, just fantastic. So you've spent 24 years running the Dancing Accountant. So what have you learned about the small business clients that you're working with, and what are the big takeaways working with that demographic, that community? And by the way, I love that. I love that. That's the way it used to be. And I think
Yeah.
that, it's great to be a virtual firm, but there's so much magic in serving the people that are physically near you too.
It's one of the reasons I think I'm probably the luckiest CPA in the world because we do have a fully remote firm. There are 9 of us, and 7 don't even live in the state. Like we're all over the country. Because we believe in, supporting small businesses in local economies, we don't outsource outside of the country. But, these are the bookkeepers and CPAs that we hire. They're people who are in their own local communities all across the country. And because we were already 100% remote as far as the employees were concerned and our team members, when the pandemic hit, we were not affected by the office situation. What we were affected by was I do have in-person meetings with my clients on a regular basis because, like I said, we hang out at these places. Like we go grocery shopping at a client's. The local chamber of commerce is a client. The local farmers market, our local, like our favorite cafe and bar, we'll stop by at 2 in the morning on a Saturday night and do shots with the owner. I mean, like it's really, I mean, we're probably not talking about accounting at that point, but it has happened. So I've learned a lot about small businesses and what they need from us. And the majority of them, I think, rely on us for expertise that really depends on people skills. Lots of folks are really nervous about AI taking our jobs, and I'm like, I'm here for it. Um, it's take the drudgery, take that part of my job, because what I want to do is I want to double down on our people skills, on the personal relationships, and that's really what they need from us. They need expertise, both in technology and accounting, I should add, which is why Scaling New Heights is the conference I tell everybody, every bookkeeper out there. I'm like, you got to go to Scaling New Heights because it really, really, really will teach you about not only accounting and bookkeeping, but it's going to teach you about the technology you need that allows us to help our clients focus on what they do well. They don't want to deal with this stuff. They don't know how. It's not why they went into business. It's, somebody's a good architect. They're not necessarily a good accountant or bookkeeper or business runner, right? So we want to allow them to focus on what they do well, and we need to get the business stuff out of their way. But here's where it relies on the personal aspect of it. We need to make it feel easy for them. We need for them to feel like they can trust us to take care of what they don't have to take care of, right? And secondly, we need expertise in analyzing their financial data because we want to help them make better real-time business decisions. And again, here's where it goes into the people skills. We need to communicate with them about it in a way that makes it feel easy for them. They are so stressed out. I run my own business. I know how stressful it is. Like, they're stressed out about all the same things that we're stressed out about and the bookkeeping and accounting, right? So my motto is be the person your client comes to first. Whether it's your area of expertise or not, like when they have a question about their business, if you can, just be that trusted advisor in their lives that they know they can always turn to. And you don't have to know everything. we have incredible networks out there of folks who are experts in contracts or sales tax, or as a matter of fact, Appy Hour and Appy Camp. That's one of my go-to places. The people over at Woodard, I'm like, does anybody know somebody who deals in so and so? So I don't. I feel like for the first 15 years that I ran my business, I thought I had to be an expert in everything.
Mhm.
And you cannot. There's too much to know. But again, leaning into those people skills, check in with your network and you say, okay, yes, you need an insurance person. I got you. You've got a problem with distributions in excess of basis. Okay, I know a tax person, like it. And so the point is that the more that we lean into these personal relationships with our clients, the more we're going to learn about what keeps them up at night, the more we can help them thrive. And the more that we do that, the healthier our communities are going to be, because I really do believe that small business owners, they are the lifeblood of our neighborhoods. And so by keeping them in good shape, we're contributing to these local economies and employment everywhere, and reducing reliance on the giant behemoth chains that are out there. So I think bookkeepers and accountants make a really, really big difference in the world, especially when we're leaning into helping our clients with the things they do not do well, and doing it in a very personal way that establishes trust.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And, just being in this community and being an accountant for 30 years, I've seen lots of accountants that's what they're helpers. They're helpers. They
Yes, they're
understand.
helpers.
They want to make it easy. They want to, lighten that burden of being a business owner. And yes, it is a burden. It is a burden that you carry. As much as you love what you do as a business owner, you have the burden of making payroll. You have the burden of making sure that
Well, I
you're
mean, I love my parents too, but they're a burden. People love their
yeah,
children, but they're a burden. It's you
exactly.
can love something with your whole heart and soul, but dude, it is hard. It is really hard.
It is really hard. It is really hard. And so, yes. But where I was going with that, Nancy, is that with a lot of what I've seen in our community is, and especially talking to folks, that they want to be that for their clients. And yes, I believe AI definitely is going to help pave the way for them to do that. But I think that one of the things that I hear from other practitioners is, how do I get paid for that? Because if I'm
Mhm.
going to give that level of service to my client and actually make it really easy and go above and beyond and be there for the hard stuff, and really, I can't do it for everyone based on what these clients are telling me that they can afford or what they can pay me. So we have this, and this is nothing new, but we have this big disparity between the value we actually bring to the client and the perceived value that
Yes.
the client sees that we're bringing. Like, I don't know that
My
they
own husband, a couple nights ago, we were talking about our condo association, which I do the books for, not surprisingly, on a volunteer basis. And we were talking about the fact that they're the last client I have on QuickBooks Desktop, because they don't really have the need to move to QuickBooks Online. And he said, "Oh, why don't you just move to zero?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's a whole nother skill set, right? Like I would be saving them maybe like $120 a year, but I have all of this stuff that I have to do." And so, um, and he says to me, "Well, it's only like 7 or 8 transactions a month." And I was so mad at him. I was like, "Really? We've been married for this many years, and you're going to give me the line that I hear from people who undervalue what bookkeepers and accountants do?" It takes a huge amount of effort to set these things up so that they work smoothly. And it takes a lot of knowledge to be able to look at the financials and tell when something's wrong, and then to know how to fix it when it breaks, right? Like we are technology experts just as much as we are accounting and bookkeeping and tax experts. And yeah, there is a huge gulf in perception there. How to address that, in my opinion, and in my experience, is niching. And for us, that's been becoming the trusted name in our neighborhood. When somebody opens a new business, they ask around to the other small businesses. They go to the local chamber of commerce. They say, who do you recommend? And everybody's like, well, obviously the dancing accountant. Like, you want to go with them because like they care for us. They take care of us. So your niche doesn't have to be hyper local, but figuring out how to set those boundaries and to say, here's what I am going to focus on, and I'm not going to try to do it all, and then become known in your community, whether that's an online community, or that's maybe you're going to specialize in sales taxes, maybe you're going to specialize in e-commerce, maybe you're going to be the person that knows a certain point of sales sync better than everybody else. For you, Zapier was your thing. Somebody would say Zapier, I would think Heather Satterley. And so I think that there are a lot of different ways that we can bridge that gap in terms of perceived value and actual value. That's not the only way, but for me, that's what's been the most impactful.
Yeah, no, niching is definitely important. And you're right. When a client really gets it, like they know that you have the deep knowledge, they can see the value that you're bringing. It's a completely different relationship.
It
And
absolutely
what
is.
I found with the clients that fall into that latter category, it's they ask for it. They ask for more. Once they understand what you can do and that you can lean in, they want more of it, and they're not afraid to pay for it. They want
And
they
that
want
personal relationship. Well, like when you say you
100%.
can lean in, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because when they know you as a human being and they can feel that you care, I mean, I think every single one of the reviews that I have on, from clients on like my Pro Advisor profile or
Mhm.
Alignable or LinkedIn, they say you can tell she cares.
Yeah,
And I mean that goes a long way. It really
it
goes
does.
a long way. And
It
of
really
course
does.
your peers knowing what your specialty is, you'll also get referrals from them. Like in our Ask a CPA community, we've got a little referrals section in there where somebody says, "Hey, I don't work with companies that maintain perpetual inventory. Is there anybody here who does?" And then you pass that along. Same thing in bookkeeping buds. So again, leaning into your networks, your communities, the people around you, not only your clients and your local community, but your broader communities in the profession.
I am so glad that you brought up Ask a CPA, because I know this is something that is
We
is
wouldn't have gotten very far without my bringing it up because it's truly my life's
right,
passion.
exactly. You're so passionate about it, and there's such a need for it. I share a little bit of my story. I was a bookkeeper before I was a CPA. And so I recognize from firsthand experience what it was like to kind of transition over and being the bookkeeper and knowing I know that this is really important, but I don't necessarily have the technical expertise to answer the question or to take action. And if you aren't working with a CPA or you don't know, that feels like a big uh what's the word I'm looking for? It feels like a big
It's
vulnerability that you need to fill the
absolutely.
gap. So you've created this community where a bookkeeper can come in and have someone that can help them through to understand a concept or know which way or know when to ask for,
Yes,
or to seek out an expert,
totally.
right?
Totally. For listeners, I want to make sure we did not rehearse Heather's intro there. Heather, I don't know if you knew, I started out as a bookkeeper for many, many years and later became a CPA as well.
I
So
didn't
that,
realize that.
yes, that's why I created this because like I've experienced it. I know what it feels like to be talked down to by
Mhm.
CPAs and other tax preparers. It is, you know, bookkeepers get treated like dirt an awful
They
lot.
sure
I'll
do.
just be
Yeah.
completely blatant and obvious about that. Um it's really frustrating. And I mean sometimes okay, so I created the community because I saw this need, because I felt it, and then I became a CPA, and internally we do both the bookkeeping and the tax. So we don't do tax for folks who come in off the street. We only do tax for folks where we've done the books. And so we had a gap, believe it or not, in our own company between the bookkeepers and the tax pros. And I was like, what am I going to do about this? And came up with solutions. and then realized, oh my gosh, if we had this problem internally, and I've had this experience being talked down to as a bookkeeper for so many years before I became a CPA. What the heck? How many people are out there? And of course, my many years being a member of Cindy Schrader's bookkeeping buds, like I saw there are a lot of people out there who need this. And so I created this community last year for bookkeepers who want to level up their accounting game, increase collaboration with their clients, CPAs, and tax preparers because we've got questions. We as bookkeepers, I still refer to myself as a bookkeeper because I feel that so deeply, in my DNA. Um, Bookkeepers and accountants have questions they would love to ask their clients' tax pros. But for whatever reason, they can't because maybe it'll damage their credibility because they feel like, they don't know what they're supposed to know or what they're not supposed to know. They don't know what language to use necessarily. But sometimes it's because they don't get any reply at all, right? Like, or
Right.
worse, they get treated really condescendingly when they do get a response. And so, yeah, this gulf, it's not new, right? Like, you've experienced it yourself. Like,
I have. Yeah.
yeah, it's existed for a long time. And I mean, there are a lot of reasons for it and the reasons themselves, I wish it didn't exist, but the reasons for it developing in the first place totally make sense. There is a lack of standards about what it means to have tax ready books. I think when I first submitted to Scaling New Heights, I had some really complex title for my talk to bookkeepers about what they need to know in order to be able to collaborate with tax pros. And you were like, meh, we're calling it Tax Ready Books, the Tax Ready Bookkeeper. And I was like, yes, you are a genius. I love that title. And now I call it that all the time because tax ready books, something that you can hand off to the tax pro and make it easy for them to prepare an accurate return that's maximizing the client's tax situation. It's a beautiful thing. Like, it's a gorgeous thing. It makes
It
me
is.
just giddy. I get so excited. But there's a lack of standards about what it means to have tax ready books. We actually did a tax pro panel for one of our Ask a CPA sessions. Um, it's not just me in there. Like, we also have guest speakers and panels and things like that. It was so amazing. Like, even to me, and I feel like I know this area pretty well, but each person had different thoughts about how they wanted things represented on the financial statements, even within a given firm. So that's part of the reason for this gulf is that, like, well, how do you define tax ready books? And there's not only a lack of standards about what that means, but there's a lack of standards in the US at least about bookkeeping certifications. You're not required to have a certification. It's hard to choose because there are so many of them out there. Some of them are really outdated and not very useful. And you can't know what you don't know, right? So bookkeepers end up feeling like imposters, right? Like, and tax pros feel like it's not their job to educate them. So there's just this huge gap. And I am going to say, in defense of tax pros, just for a second, normally I'm pretty hard on us as a group. For example, we will cram anything into a journal entry. I know it's annoying, it's frustrating. They don't understand that they don't know everything about bookkeeping and technology, right? Like, their wheelhouse is taxes. So, in their defense, though, taxes are really hard and they're really stressful and they're getting more stressful and they're getting more complex. And there's a knowledge gap between what tax pros know and what bookkeepers know. And it'll always exist because we do different things and we fill different roles. And so, anytime a gap like that exists and there's a lack of standards, there's going to be tension, right? I mean, like, it's just part of it is natural. Part of it is a sense like the superiority complex that tax pros have for sure, but part of it is just a very natural thing. So I think bookkeepers, whether they're internal at a CPA firm or they're in a CAS practice or they're running their own business, whatever, they, in my opinion, they're a solution to translate between the tax pro and the client. They really are. And they're also the solution to make tax time less arduous for the tax pro. But they need education, they need collaboration. Tax pros don't see it as their job. And honestly, with all the constant changes and the increasing complexity in the tax code, like they don't have the time. Like who has the time? Even though in the long run, it would help them immeasurably. I mean, like imagine tax season with no cleanups and like all the data supported with work papers. It's insane. We've done it in our own firm. I've seen it happen with members of Ask a CPA. This really could be the reality everywhere. I
You
I
know,
don't think it's an exaggeration to say that like improving this collaboration makes literally everyone's life better, Heather. I really do.
it really does. And, back in the day when I had my firm, my first firm, I had my mother's a CPA. I don't know if you knew that, Nancy,
I
but my
didn't
mom's a
know
CPA.
that. Wow, so
Yeah.
you
So
followed in your mother's footsteps.
I did after I took a few detours. So I took one of these detours and eventually ended up following your mom's footsteps. But
Did you know my
yes.
undergraduate degree is in music education?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mine was
You
actually
wanna
going to be
talk
in
about
theater.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Music education and theater. Talk about detours. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Incredible. But I remember she had taught me how to do the work papers. She had, I had the benefit of having mom, right? So when I was a
Right.
bookkeeper, I had the benefit of calling my Ask a CPA, aka mom, to ask her what to do. So after I went and got my accounting degree and ended up getting my CPA, I started a bookkeeping firm. I really didn't go. I didn't want to do audit. I didn't want to do reviews or any of that. I just wanted to do bookkeeping, and eventually I did tax. And I had firms in the Providence area that would refer all their clients to me just because of what you said, Nancy, because I would give them tax ready books. Like
Yes.
I would give them all the work papers. I knew exactly because I had worked in my mom's CPA firm. I knew exactly what they needed. I knew exactly what questions to ask. I knew, and because I had gone on to get the degree, that made it even easier for me because then I
Yes.
understood the actual principles behind it. But that I got referred so much business that I had to stop taking clients because all
Oh,
the
it's
CPA
real.
firms
Yeah.
wanted me to do the books of their clients. So they referred all of their clients out to me. It was
A
very lucrative.
bookkeeper
So
like you in that situation, Heather, is every accountant's dream, every tax accountant's dream. But some of them, they're not dreaming that dream because they don't even know it could exist. They've never seen it happen. I guarantee you, you start, and we see this with members, your experience, like you start handing things off. We've got a 2-page checklist that actually is usually it's just for Ask a CPA members, but we for Scaling New Heights this year, I gave it to everybody in my session on like how to do a year-end review on your books so that you're handing these off. And when people are doing that, the tax pros that they hand them off to, Heather, it's exactly what you just said. They're like, oh, this is a thing. This is real. Like you can, oh my gosh, you knew what I needed. And yeah, no, it literally makes everyone's life better because it levels up the bookkeeping
it
role.
does. And
It
it does.
provides
And I mean,
desperately needed support to tax pros, and it ultimately helps the shared client, right? Like the small business professionals.
and it helps the bookkeeping firm grow because you're going to get
Yes,
these referrals. You're going to get the
yes,
referrals from the CPAs, the tax preparers. You're going to get referrals from the clients who are hearing, great things about you from their trusted tax preparer and advisor. So it's just a win-win for everybody. So I love that you're doing that. And
and I
and
want
I
to
love
add
that.
the fourth win that you just made me think of, because putting back to back the conversation we had about um, keeping our communities healthy and vibrant by helping the small business professionals, right? Like there's a fourth win here, which is our neighborhoods, right? Because like they're going to thrive if the small businesses are thriving, and they're going to thrive if the bookkeepers and the tax pros are thriving. There's a reason I get so excited and passionate about this. Like it's real.
I love it. I love it. It's fantastic. And I love that you've created a safe space for bookkeepers, to come in. And I would challenge you. I wonder what would happen if you started bringing in some tax practitioners that don't understand and see, how
Well,
they,
I don't
yeah,
know if you know this or not, but I got invited to speak on this topic at AICPA Engage this coming year.
wonderful,
So
wonderful.
I feel like, I normally I get to speak on this topic to bookkeepers, and they're all in,
Yeah,
Heather. Like
yeah,
their bookkeepers get it. It's harder to convince the tax pros that they need this and that collaboration is something they should be looking for. And, like what I would love to see is tax pros going, oh, I'm getting books that require too much cleanup or that I don't understand or that don't match what I need to prepare the tax return. And maybe I don't have time to train this bookkeeper, but I can say to the bookkeepers, hey, if you join Ask a CPA and learn how to do this, we can keep working together and I'll refer you to other people. I would love to see it on both sides of it. And so I spoke on the topic of bridging the gap this year, and I'm going to be speaking on it Engage next year. And I mean, I would go so far as to say this is one of the prongs in the multi-pronged solution toward the capacity crisis that we're having in tax today. We don't have
I
enough
agree with you.
errors. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I want to talk about another endeavor that you launched in the definitely last 18 months. I don't know if it's been
Yeah.
the last
It
18 months,
was
last year.
it was
And
just
we're
this
talking
year. I
about
bet
is
you're talking about the podcast, right?
I'm talking about the podcast that you're doing with Question.
Yeah.
So the She Counts podcast, and I would love to hear a little bit about what is why was that important to you to bring to life, and what is it? Why does it exist?
So we launched the podcast just this past May. Like it's not even a year old yet, which I can't believe because I've been able to speak to so many people and I've heard from so many people and talked about it at conferences. And like it's done a couple of three live recordings at conferences. We did one at Scaling New Heights and we did one at Bridging the Gap and then also at Women Who Count. And AICPA Global Women's Summit has already invited us to do it next year. It's been an incredible experience. Yeah, as for what motivated me, question Telka motivated me. She bugged me and bugged me and bugged me for years, and I was like, nope, 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 nope. Because as you may know, Heather, running a podcast is a really time-consuming, expensive thing to do. It is a lot of work,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
but we had a really amazing ally in Randy Crabtree at the Unique CPA podcast and Try Merit and Bridging the Gap. He does so much for the community. And he was telling me a story when we talked on my first Unique CPA podcast interview. He told me the story about when he was at a table at a dinner at a conference and everybody was trading stories about like their worst, like their kind of biggest accounting horror story. And he told his. And then it went to the next person. And there were a lot of women at the table. And each of those women going around the table told their stories about being a woman in accounting. And he was listening to these and he was like, oh my gosh, like my story is nothing compared to these.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was telling me about that, I was like, women feel alone unless we can tell these stories to each other out loud. And everything that I do, whether it's Ask a CPA or the work that I'm doing with clients or speaking at conferences or with my team, is about making people feel less alone, which is why I did, at last year's Bridging the Gap, I did that panel on vulnerability as a strength, right? That's all about making people feel less alone. And like I said, Question had been bugging me for a long time because we would have these WhatsApp chats or we would have these, conversations in Bookkeeping Buds or whatever in person when we would see each other at conferences. And she was like, let's do this. And I finally said, yeah, this challenges that women face in the profession today. I mean, these themes, they keep resurfacing. And, I should point out, not surprisingly, they're not exclusively about our accounting industry, right? Like that's the
No,
lens we're using
they're
to
not.
have these
Yeah.
conversations. But how to make business happen when life happens. I know you know that one. sexual harassment, mentorship, burnout, glass ceilings, imposterism. I refuse to call it imposter syndrome. It's not a syndrome. If we all are dealing with it, it is not a syndrome. It is just a state of being human. Pricing, setting boundaries, AI, ADHD. I mean, like the list goes on and on and on. And looking at those things from this lens of being a woman in accounting, you know, I'm hopeful because we're finally talking about these things that historically have gone unspoken. A good example was the one we recorded yesterday. We recorded one on women being judged by what they wear. And we're going to have another one on menopause in the workplace. Nobody's talking about menopause, but it's real. And
Oh, it is
listeners are
real.
responding. Like
Yeah.
listeners are writing to us, Heather. They're like, I feel less alone. I have a friend who had a stroke and she was going back and forth to her doctor's appointments and she was listening to our podcast. She said it made her feel less alone.
I love that.
I know, right? Like I get really emotional when I think about that. A friend who dealt with breast cancer this year, a friend who is dealing with concerns about aging parents, being caregivers. Uh, it's making a difference. If women are feeling less alone, then we're accomplishing our goal. And I know we both are huge fans of Misty Mejia and the Theater of Public Speaking. She talks about learning to speak from the scar and not from the wound. And we try to offer solutions in every single episode so that we're not just talking about these things and providing a non-judgmental, safe space to tell these stories, but also hopefully giving people some next steps and guidance and, what would I do in this situation or what have I done when it's happened to me?
Yeah. That's really valuable and very much needed. Like you said, not just in our industry, but in our world, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the big change, that I would like to see in the world, because that's something that's really big here at Woodard, um, is that everybody understands their intrinsic value as a human being, and they understand every other human's intrinsic value as a human being.
Yes.
And I
I
think that we
feel
don't
like
do
that's
that.
one of the main reasons that you and I like connected emotionally kind of early on. It was that concept of, I'm always talking about personalizing professionalism, like recognizing that person on the other side of that wall, on the other side of that cubicle, on the other side of the Zoom call or the email. They're human too. They're human too. They have value and they want to be treated with kindness and respect and empathy the same way that you do. And if we all recognize that, then like your dream here of people recognizing their intrinsic value, like that becomes reality.
Right, right. But it requires vulnerability,
It does.
um, and it requires kindness. And I think that people that don't act, necessarily, or lead with kindness, are really going through something. And I think that's the
Yeah.
only reason that they don't lead with kindness, is because maybe they haven't received much.
And
So by
and maybe you can't see the pain that they're in, a lot of our pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, it's invisible. You don't know
Yeah,
what that person's going through. Yeah, I agree.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we'll quote the Beatles. We quote the Beatles. What the world needs now. That is the Beatles, right?
Actually, I think that's Burt Bacharach wrote that.
Oh, you're right. It
And
is first
yes,
September. I'm like, all
and
right. I flunked the music
my
Quizlet.
favorite
I should
version
not be
of
on
it
anyone's, yeah,
is
trivia
Dusty
team.
Springfield. Dusty
Yeah,
Springfield's version of that is one of my favorites. Although the version from Austin Powers was pretty good. So,
it was
yeah.
pretty good. Yeah. So don't recruit me for your trivia team, because I would be a liability, not an asset. So
But
at
if
least
you
in the
need to call your
musical.
mom for questions about taxes, that you've got a lifeline there, and now you can be the lifeline to somebody else.
Right. That's right. That's a good point. Or for those of you that don't have my mom, you can go join Ask a CPA, and Nancy can be
Yes.
your mom. So-
Yes, come see me at thedancingaccountant.com. And one of the tabs on there says Ask a CPA. Check it out. We've got our first session on there was free and recorded and available to everyone. And we put some of the sessions we make public because they're just lessons everybody needs to hear. And so those are all on my YouTube channel.
That's awesome. Well, you know what, Nancy, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and thank you for everything you're doing for the profession and for women and for fellow humans. It's definitely not going unnoticed, and you are definitely making an incredibly large impact in the world. So, thank you.
You
Thank you for
really,
that.
really, really do make me feel like $1,000,000, Heather. I'm legitimately holding it in here. I'm a little verklempt. You're so kind to me. And I love that. I feel like you see me as the human being that I aspire to be.
Hmm. Well, you are incredible. And with that, thanks again. And to everybody, please do check out the She Counts podcast and Ask a CPA and all of the wonderful things that Nancy's doing. You will not be sorry. And Nancy, I can't wait till we see each other again in person.
I can't wait to hug you, Heather. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This has just been a delight. You are such a joy to have in my life. And it was really, as I said at the start, a real honor to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.